Hey everyone, welcome to Make Your Peace, a 4YE podcast about Wynonna Earp. I'm Catherine Meushaw.
And I'm Lara Hayes.
And today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 5, Diggin Up Bones. First off, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who, comments and shares and all that jazz and just listens in general. So I'd like to say thank you for that. And this is, I keep forgetting to mention this is a spoiler-free and a spoiler-filled podcast. So we'll be having a spoiler-free discussion and then do all of our where you can find us on Twitter and stuff like that. And then we'll have a spoiler-filled discussion. So if you're new to Wynonna Earp and don't want to be spoiled for the rest of Season 1 and all of Season 2, don't worry, we'll have a warning before the spoiler section. So we just kind of wanted to do it this way so that we can still kind of have fun and discuss some of how the episodes tie in. So I keep forgetting to mention that, and I'm sorry. I did not pull any kind of recap. So
I've got it.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, you guys. So a quick recap. Wynonna has a disturbing nightmare about Willa. Dolls leads a raid after seeing the Revenants transport a conspicuous crate into the trailer park.
Alrighty. So, where do you want to start?
I'm going to start with the episode title, as per usual. So, we are digging in this episode, you guys, from the literal bones Constance Clutie is so into to buried childhood trauma or things better left alone or better left to rest. The episode title also comes from the song of the same name by country star Randy Travis.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So, where do you want, was there place you wanted to go from there?
Yes, I would like to start with the severed foot.
Of course.
Yes.
Why did I not expect you to start with a severed foot?
Catherine, I was so excited about this. Like, we had a severed foot before the credits. I was just like, as soon as I was excited about it too, I was like, God, I wish last week hadn't ruined this amputation streak for me. But, we're back on track now.
I'm sorry your streak was ruined. But,
I think
watching burnt to a crisp Levi chewing off his own foot is pretty terrible.
Yeah, that was real gruesome.
Yeah, this show does not shy away from stuff like that. I was not a fan. It's not one of my favorite things. But I am glad you got your, amputation.
It did make me really, really happy. I would like, I want to talk about the dream sequence in the beginning too, if you're cool with that.
Of course. Let's go for it. That's actually, I think, where I was going to propose starting. So go for it.
Awesome. Sweet. So the dress in the dream sequence in the beginning was just, I think it was just a really nice choice. Like the moment we see it, it's nothing that Wynonna would wear. I think it's like a prairie dress, and we find out, like sort of through the dream and everything that it's Willa's dress. Willa's like standing behind her in the doorway. She's wearing the same dress. And I appreciate the symbolism of the dress. Like it's like Wynonna wearing her big sister's clothes or, walking in someone else's shoes, whatever you like.
Yeah, kind of in taking a role she wasn't meant to take or wasn't expecting to take.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and there's a lot in that dream. I mean, from, Waverly calling her Willa, pointing out the dress, Willa, Wynonna hearing Willa say, get them, because there's a theme of revenge that has run through kind of this series so far, and especially this episode has featured it very prominently, this idea of revenge. So, she hears Willa telling, them to get them, and she, tells her that I am, I've almost got them all and stuff like that. And then, Willa wearing that dress and saying, where were you? And mentioning that, like, Ward couldn't save them. And if I remember correctly, Willa also had, like, her mouth was, like, sewn shut or something. It looked like it was.
Is that right?
I think so. I could be making that up, because I didn't write it down. But I did just watch the episode today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to believe you before I believe me, so I'm sure that's right.
That's not always best. You gotta trust yourself, too.
And not about continuity. So if you say the mouth was sewn shut, then at some point it was.
Oh God, I'm gonna get a reputation, and then it's all just gonna go to hell when it doesn't work out for me one time. Putting a lot on me right now.
I'm sorry, it's my weakness.
I'm actually sitting here checking. I had to pull it up.
I thought you were going to pull it up.
You know me so well. I was right.
Nice.
I know, because it zooms in kind of on her, and as Waverly's like running, it kind of cuts out of the dream as Waverly's running to close the windows and wake Wynonna up. So
yeah, okay, yeah. That was a really like tense moment too, like right after Wynonna woke up. You know, we get a lot from that like sister sit down in the very beginning. We confirm that Waverly has no real memory of Willa,
mm-hmm.
and that Wynonna's day drinking is absolutely a concern for Waverly. She compares Wynonna's drinking to their father's, and she does not mince her words.
No, and she also has a really interesting reaction to Wynonna calling out for Willa. It's a very interesting reaction to just the stuff with Willa in general on Waverly's end.
Like a physical like her face?
Yeah, kind of, and like her tone and everything. Just a lot of, like everything, her body language.
Yeah, everything. I felt that too. That's a good point.
So, yeah, I mean, she kind of, and she immediately after that, she, also comes at Wynonna a little bit for, you can't keep going on like this, like acting like killing people isn't affecting you.
Exactly, yeah.
And then kindly, as little sisters or any sibling is like apt to do, points out, she's not even like 5% through the ribs. Like, Wynonna's like, I've almost got him, but it's just the 7. She's still got 70 more revenants once the 7 are taken care of.
Exactly.
So Waverly is kind enough to remind her of that. She's got a long road to go, but it's really important that she not lose herself. So
yeah, save your liver.
Yeah, and your soul, really.
Sure, that too. Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of the soul, liver.
Meh.
Both equally important, maybe. I don't know. One of them grows back. No, I think we didn't get a lot of like Earp sisters moments, really. Waverly still got, some moments, but we didn't get a lot of Earp sisters moments outside of this one. So I appreciated that. I think it was a really important conversation. And I like that Wynonna doesn't like really try to argue or get like bent out of shape about Waverly's concern either.
Yeah. That's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's true. You kind of have your sister moment like in the beginning of the episode. And then for the most part, after that, they're sort of operating on their own.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not to say they do interact, because we do see Waverly later, with Bobo and stuff like that. But Waverly kind of took a little bit of a backseat this episode. Outside of, she got us good information. I did like when she's doing her stakeout, her taking photos during the raid. I like that she had the granola.
Yeah.
Or like it's trail mix, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. And I like how she's like eating it like really daintily. It's like, one tiny peanut at a time. It just made me laugh. Now she's sitting there like just, munching. But you got to bring your snacks.
That, like, because we're already on the topic of like that stakeout and everything, and you're right, Waverly she didn't get much screen time this episode, but what she did get was like really used, and it was valuable time. And this is another episode that kind of shows us that Bobo seems to be like preternaturally attuned to Waverly, like despite the fact that she's hiding quietly, munching her granola. He looks like right at her. And later, he tells her he chose her because she's angry, which she still can't admit. And he says she has depths, or she has depths that neither of them know the extent of yet. So we had a really, really big episode for Waverly and Bobo and their whatever backstory, even if like Waverly herself wasn't heavily featured.
Definitely. And I think it's interesting because, he is like, he does kind of immediately tune in on her.
Yeah.
when Dulce is taking him away. But I do, once again, we have Waverly kind of underestimating herself. She immediately thinks that he targeted her, like Bobo targeted her because she's weak. And he is very clearly says, weak is something you've never been.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear something like that come from somebody who is our villain.
Yeah, especially when she kind of has to continuously remind her sister that she can take care of herself and that she wants to be a part of the team, that she needs to help. And so it's funny that somebody who is, very much a villain in this series so far is looking at her and saying, I picked you.
Yeah, for your, for your anger or whatever, for your depths, not because you're weak. So yeah, it's a really interesting Waverly and Bobo interaction. And we get 2 mentions of Willa this episode. One of them in that conversation with Waverly, where Bobo tells Waverly nothing good happened to Willa.
Yeah.
And then later, Vinny the Vulture makes a comment about Wynonna won't stop. Vinny tells Wynonna they won't stop until she's in pieces like her sister.
Yeah.
So it's implied, we get little pieces of something really terrible happened to Willa.
I also just really enjoyed that entire scene with Bobo in the holding cell. Like he was so menacing, and like Melanie, Michael just does so much physical acting.
Yeah.
It's just he inhabits Bobo, like the way he moves and twitches and the way he sort of seethes between words, and he just like snaps into physical anger, like moves unexpectedly, or he'll like charge on you or something. And it's really cool, I think. I think the thing that made that scene so much more powerful was that they were in such a small space with him, and he's so animated, and there's just not much room to move around or to get away from him or anything else. So I really loved that.
It's a good scene, and I mean he's a very big character. He's he takes up space, even the way he was sitting. It's, he's taking up space. So in that small, holding cell thing, or the interrogation room that they're in, it's...
Thank you. That's the word. Thank you.
It took me a minute too. I know. It took me a second too, so no worries.
My gosh.
Yeah, I mean, so you're right. But he's a very physical presence. And it's just, it's such a good scene. And he does I enjoy Bobo as a villain. He's like a good mix of like creepy and just kind of jerk, and like, I don't know. He's a good mix. He's a good villain.
I think Bobo's a really strong villain. He's a little bit like despicable. You're not 100% sure why you feel that way, but you feel that way. Yeah.
It's because he wears the heavy fur coat all the time. It just throws you off.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the fur.
Hey, speaking of, I had to laugh though, because it's like that trailer park scene where Waverly's there with her camera. Her wardrobe compared to everybody else. Everybody else is, wearing jackets or at least long sleeves and stuff like that, except for Waverly. I don't know what what Dominique did to the wardrobe department, but because I mean they were filming in winter in Canada.
Yeah, she had to be so cold in that little half shirt, like so cold.
Yeah, I mean it looked like kind of a sweater-esque kind of material, but still like it was still like, nope, that would have been cold. So it's like every time I see that I'm like, oh, poor Dominique. I do love Bobo. The one scene I do not love is that scene with Constance Clutie, because we do get to meet, finally, the woman who cursed Doc.
Yes.
The woman who's been, we get to meet Constance Clutie. And I don't love that scene with her and Bobo after she springs him from the police station.
Right.
With the, licking her shoe thing. sucking on her thing. I try to block that out every time.
I mean, I wasn't into it either.
Yeah, no. I had to like the one Bobo scene I was like not a fan of. It was like, nope. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. But no. So we meet Constance, who's, as far as we know, I mean, she uses magic.
Yeah, I believe she is a Sith Lord, and I'm gonna go ahead and call that one right now. Like, that was a serious force hold that she had on Bobo. She put the whammy on Doc. Like, that's my theory.
It's a pretty solid theory, but take that down. I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way I'm wrong about this.
No, yeah, that's the surprise. We're crossing over into the Star Wars universe.
No one saw it coming.
That's it. We're going to get like lightsabers now and blasters, and it's going to just take everything to a whole new level.
Yeah.
It'll be great. It will be great. Top shelf, really.
Top shelf.
So Constance is a Sith Lord who cursed Doc.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, Bobo has been digging up 2 skeletons for her. We don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
They mean something to her because she was like singing and talking to them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's finding the bones for her in exchange for the lead to get out of purgatory. He mentions a lead a few times. We don't know what it is, just that Constance has it and is keeping it from Bobo.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
We get some pieces of information, but we're not really sure what they mean. Oh, and Constance is scared of Doc for some reason. So, definitely should be interesting to see where that goes.
It's funny when you lay it all out like that. I'm like, man, a lot of stuff happened in the episode, didn't it?
Yeah, it's just kind of...
Yeah, this was a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite... It has one of my favorite Revenants in it, too. Just because I do adore Fish.
I think he's such a sweetheart, and one of my favorite moments in the episode is the Doc Holliday Fish love fest. Like, they're right? When he sees him in the car and they just bear hug it out. Like, I loved that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I just like the little stuff, like the fact that he gets car sick.
Yeah,
he's our first gay Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
I guess technically second now that we know him and Levi had a thing, but still.
Oh yeah,
he's the. And he seemed to just been, he's the first one who seems to have maybe, it's hard to, we don't quite know. We just know, he got wrapped up in with Levi's stuff, and Levi was the criminal and all that stuff. But it almost seems like we get yet another innocent Revenant. Another, or at least more innocent than, people who went around, actually murdering people. As far as we know, that's the impression that we get.
Yeah.
As far as Fish goes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I really love Fish too. I like that he sort of, he's used to sort of challenge what we think we know about Revenants, which is sort of what Wynonna has been saying all the time. He's sort of the realization of her doubts, right? Like resurrected and made Revenant. Like that's sort of what he is. And I love, despite the fact that Wynonna jumps to the assumption that Fish's lover is a woman, I love that she doesn't stumble after that. She doesn't joke about it. And the awkward part is really just Wynonna having assumed incorrectly. And it's also a really human moment. Fish is just such a human character, and it just shows that Revenants were humans, and humans are complicated. They're more than being just simply bad or simply good. So it makes sense that she finds this job impossible sometimes, and this is what she's been trying to tell people. She contains multitudes. There are probably plenty of things that she's done, the Bleecker case, that squirt, that sort of skirt the line between right and wrong. And it's kind of who am I to cast judgment?
Yeah. It's a very interesting episode for Wynonna just in general, because, she gets that with Fish, and then, but she starts off in this episode talking about mostly being kind of revenge driven for the Revenants. And then she kind of switches to this, I want to get Bobo no matter what, regardless of the rules and, what I'm held to as technically an officer of the law. Because while not an actual police officer, she is acting, for Black Badge, and Black Badge is, a entity, like some sort of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So, she immediately, and then it's, oh, here's this guy who may not be as bad as, some of the guys I put down. Here's somebody who's human. Here's somebody who, I got to rethink this. And then Doc gives her a ration of crap about it, about feeling some sympathy or something, humanizing people. Doc gives, humanizing these Revenants, Doc gives her a ration of crap because the only way he's been able to get through all of this is by demonizing Clutie, demonizing the woman who put him through and, being so focused on revenge. It's, they're not good people, they're not even people, they're not good and stuff like that. But it's like, in this episode, Fish gives us no indication that he is a bad guy.
Right.
He's just a guy who maybe fell in love with the wrong dude,
mm-hmm.
And I mean, that could be, we don't know why Wyatt shot Fish. Maybe he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe he did commit some heinous crime. Maybe it was another reason.
Right. That moment at the end too, like with Fish and Levi, it's, I mean, obviously it's a very sad moment, but, going back to what you were saying about, the hard time that Doc gives Wynonna, I love that they juxtapose a Revenant who is meant to be objectively bad against both Wynonna and Doc, who are heroes. And, Fish says essentially that vengeance is an empty pursuit to two people who are both running solely on vengeance. And then he just, forfeits his life without a fight, and Levi's, and just lets her put them down. And I just thought that was such a neat way to use a Revenant, like to have, because they are being hunted by Wynonna, and the biggest, drive for her, like you said, is, revenge. And she immediately starts second guessing all of that. And that's when Doc kind of goes in on her, because he's just not ready to let it go yet.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like I think he's got a lot of his own stuff too. So it's like, he calls himself a monster for what he's done, for taking Levi out to the, past the boundary and all that stuff. And Wynonna's like, you're not, like, Wynonna makes sure to tell him that he's not and everything. And it's just, it's really interesting. And, cause he's so full of anger, and she ends up telling, him that she needs a code. And one of the things, this is the first time she asks a Revenant if they've made their peace. So, which is, I think, important for a podcast titled Make Your Peace.
I think I'm glad you pointed that out.
Just a thought. No, so I like this episode for what it does with the character stuff, and I like it because I do enjoy Fish as a Revenant. And I do like how, he's kind of, oh, we gotta break into the civic building, and she's just like, really? That's where I work. Surprised it took me this long. I love that moment. It's like you have this Revenant being like, we kind of gotta commit a little bit of crime, and she's like, huh, yeah, it took me longer than it should have to do this, basically.
I love that line. It was probably my favorite line of the episode.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there were a number of ones. I mean, we're not there yet by any means, but that was the thing I was going to say about sexuality, because I did like that moment with Fish where he mentions, like, clarifies that it was a him, and Wynonna doesn't really react, in any sort of ridiculous over the top way like some people do, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Like, she just kind of was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And like that in another moment later where she's like trying to flirt her way with the workers in the basement of the civic building, not realizing that it's two women.
Yeah.
switching tactics, realizing that that's not going to work, and then Doc coming in. I love that scene too.
I do too. I love it because she just rolls with it and tries her luck anyway once she finds out that they're women. And then when it still doesn't work, she just like admits defeat and taps Doc in, lets him do his thing. She tries though, you know, she gave it the old college try. Yeah. That's what counts.
There's a joke about college experimentation there.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
You know what I don't love though?
What?
I don't love Judge Kreiderman. He's like a way less fun version of the mayor. It's like if Principal Snyder and Mayor Wilkins had a really angry baby, it would be Judge Kreiderman.
Oh, for those unfamiliar, this is one of our Buffy references. But yeah, no, that's not wildly incorrect, I guess.
It's good, right? Yeah.
It's not a bad analogy. No, yeah, Kreiderman's interesting because, you know, he's, you know, calls Wynonna a bad seed and implies that she was born bad, mentions that Ward was a good dude.
Yep. And
we find out at the end of the episode, he's got one of the, quote, hunting photos from the Seven on his desk.
Yep.
From Josiah Earp, I believe. Oh, and Kreiderman also mentions that his family's been in purgatory for over 140 years. So it's an old purgatory family, and I wonder if maybe he's got ties to revenants.
I wonder if he's a revenant and he's like talking about his revenant family. You know what I mean? Like, has it been 140 years they've been stuck there?
Maybe. I mean, I don't remember the math as far as when Wyatt was around.
I don't either.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, he's got an interesting tie, or if he's just a guy who's easily bought too. We don't know.
Yeah, it's probably more likely.
We don't know. We just know he's got a photo from, you know, the death of Josiah Earp in his office. I did love kind of Wynonna getting tired with the raid, like not going the way she wanted it to. So her just jumping on the hood of the car and jumping up on the car and just being like, all right, so we're going to do it this way. And Waverly's like, oh no, Wynonna's going all Wynonna again. I love that.
I liked it too. Dolls upset me a little bit, like when he was talking about why they can't just storm the trailer park, you know, and he mentioned that all it would take is like someone snapping a photo of a revenant being sucked to hell, and Wynonna would spend the rest of her life in a psych ward. And I was like, Ixnay, dude, come on. Don't talk about the psych ward. So I didn't love that, but I did love when she, you know, after she like robbed the, you know, police station and everything, I liked that Dolls, you know, like sees her rounding that corner and everything. And I like that he just smiles when he catches her stealing. Like he just lets it go.
I love the puppy dog eyes she gives him. I like how, like, you know, because he catches it and she's like, I like the kind of the puppy dog eyes she gives him, the kind of so that he'll let her go. It's great. Because, I mean, he probably would have done it anyway, but.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and one of the things I meant to mention too, Bobo in the interrogation room, we find out Bobo is telekinetic. So we've discovered that some revenants seem to have different abilities, and Bobo seems to be telekinetic because he actually, when Wynonna has Peacemaker on him, he actually takes it from her. And we can tell that it hurts him, but it seems to take a second to actually burn him. Unlike, you know, we see Red pick it up in episode 2, and it seems to burn Red pretty quickly, but Bobo, it seems to take a second to really hurt him. And I'm wondering if it's because Bobo's powerful?
Yeah,
or if there's maybe something more to it.
Yeah, I think it's like a testament to his power or his strength, because not only like did it burn, you know, like does it burn like most revenants right away, he's actually able to hold it and aim it for a while.
So I thought that was interesting. So that was an interesting piece of information to get about him. Very sadly, deleting a very blank Nicole section, because once again, Nicole was absent from this episode.
Yeah, she wasn't in it.
It's not okay to keep doing that to us, show.
It's not.
It's just not okay.
I missed her. You missed her. We all missed her.
I'm sure more people did. We did get shirtless dolls, but, it's just not the same.
Maybe that was my favorite line of the episode, actually, because I really loved, brought you a shirt, put your coffee back on.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty great. Yeah, there was some good, there's some good stuff in this episode. Also, I guess we should probably mention the fact that after Doc and Wynonna argued at the end of the episode, they kind of sort of had sex in the dirt.
Yes.
Which is gross.
We should mention that, which is gross. Like the sex or the dirt part?
The dirt part.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you there.
The dirt part. It actually led to my first Twitter interaction with Melanie Scrofano, though. That is literally my first.
Oh, for real?
Yes, when we were live tweeting about it, my first interaction with Melanie Scrofano, and possibly one of the only times she has replied to one of my tweets, was about the sex in the dirt in this episode. Because I think it led to a conversation about which was worse, like that or sand or something. I don't know. It's just things get places. Yeah, so that's a fun fact.
Yeah, no, I'm on your side, dude. I don't want to be in the dirt. No.
No. No. It cannot be that. No dirt. No dirt. Let's see, but I guess, that's something we kind of have to mention, which I thought that was a weird kind of, who doesn't enjoy the, we're fighting, oops, we're making out, like, kind of tropey thing in fan fiction and stuff like that, and when it shows up on our screens. But I do kind of think it was kind of a weird, I don't want to say transition, but I can't think of a better word for it, so I'm going to say transition. You know what I mean? Like, kind of a weird lead into that.
Yeah, no, I got what you, yeah.
I don't know. And I feel like that every time, like, it's obvious that the two kind of, like, do have something going on. It's been kind of building up, but I just thought it was kind of a weird, I don't know.
Right.
Then again, that's got to be something weird to film, so maybe those things always just kind of seem weirder on screen than it is when you're, like, reading fanfic or something.
Yeah, quite possibly.
I don't know. But, I don't know. I think about it every time. I'm like, this is kind of weird.
I don't, just because, like, it's been a long setup, Like, there's just a lot of tension between them, so it didn't really strike me as I'd just been waiting for it. So
yeah, the setup is definitely there. I just think the way it leads into it is kind of, I don't know. It's a weird lead into it, not necessarily a weird thing to happen. Like, it doesn't feel out of character. It feels very in character.
Right.
I don't know, but I think just the kind of lead into it could have been, I don't know.
For sure.
It makes sense in my head. We had the boobs are better than dynamite moment, which is always pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of other big things.
I don't. I have some stuff for our spoiler section, but
I do too. I actually have a fair amount. Oh, I did like Waverly stopping Wynonna's truck and being really excited about it. She's like, I did something good, right? Because I saw this was weird, and it's like, I've got good instincts, right? And then she sees fish and is like, oh crap. I did like that moment. I thought that was, I like Waverly, especially when she's actually allowed to help the group and, get to show off her smarts or whatever, her instincts and stuff like that. So I appreciated that moment.
I had two more quotes that I really liked. I loved when Wynonna was like staring Bobo down at the trailer park, and she was like, where are the rest of your guys, And he says, big sale on yoga mats down at Lululemon. I loved that.
Yeah.
I also really like Fish's, or, like when Fish, like is in the car behind her and he's like threatening her and he's like, we're going to do whatever. And she was like, I just thinking I need another man to tell me what to do today. And look, here you are. Yeah,
that one was on my list. Doll's telling Wynonna, I need you to put on your grown-up face. And she's like, I have one of those.
Yeah.
And the boobs are better than dynamite moment is just pretty great. That whole exchange was great. And then I actually didn't have as many quotes this time as I normally do, which is shocking. And then one of the things is just the offhand, one piece at a time, that's how we lose people quote that Wynonna had about Willa.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments, they're having an interaction and it's like, it's a very real thing you experience when somebody you love has passed.
Yeah.
You start, it's like the harder you try to hold on to some things, it's like the the more they slip away. You know, Waverly trying to remember if their sister's ears were pierced and stuff like that. It's like, it was such a simple quote, but I liked it just because it was just one of those like very real moments. So I know we just kind of like slipped into quotes. I didn't have a lot more on my list to really talk about. Oh, Benny the Vulture makes a random comment about Earps are always trying to cut deals whenever it suits them.
Mm-hmm.
That I found interesting. So I'm sure that'll come up later. But
yeah.
in some capacity, but I just thought it was interesting. It's always interesting when the Revenants have something to say about the Earp family like that.
Especially one as icky as Vulture, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So to hear it come from him, who I don't like at all, that's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, that and like the security guard she runs into seems to have some sort of history with the Earps. Maybe not necessarily her, but maybe like her dad or something like that, because of the comment he makes when he sees her, like, you know, I know not to trust, you know, an Earp, basically.
Yeah.
So, definitely interesting. But I think that was everything on my list to mention about that. Kind of blew through that fairly quickly, but a spoiler section I think is going to be a beast. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we covered the rest of my section too. I'm ready to move on if you are.
Cool. Alrighty. Well then, this was kind of a shorter episode than it usually is, but, well, I say that now, but watch us take like a long time on our spoilers, so. As far as for the non-spoiler section, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. As mentioned, we're going to have our spoiler section after we do all of the Twitter stuff. So where can they find you, Lara?
You guys can find me at RS Mayfair on Twitter. And I just want to say a really quick thank you to everyone who liked and retweeted and shared the link to my pre-order. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google the title of my book, Terrible Praise. You can check it out on bellabooks.com, or you can check it out on Amazon. It comes out in mid-April, but I wanted to take a moment to thank everybody who supported me and to thank everybody who helped to signal boost me and everybody who reserved their copy. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much.
Yes. Shameless plug. Check it out. I'm very excited to read it. So.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And you can find me on Twitter at Meushaw. That's at CMEUSHAW. You can check out the Make Your Peace Twitter at 4YE_MYP podcast, and that's the number 4. And if you're interested in checking out some of the stuff that Laura and I have written for 4YE, you can check out that Twitter at 4_Y_E. And we're actually going to be skipping a week. So the week this episode drops is also the week of Klexicon, and that weekend Laura's out of town. So the following week, we're actually not going to have a new episode. So it's a planned miss, unlike our unplanned one, I think, a couple weeks ago. On the plus side, though, I will be bringing you Wynonna Earp panel coverage from Klexicon. So if you're interested in that, make sure you're following the 4YE Twitter, because I will be live tweeting the panels if possible.
And I'm going to be cyberstalking you.
Excellent. I'm always happy to be cyberstalked. No, I'm actually... Don't cyberstalk me, please. But yeah, give us a follow. And if you've got any questions or anything, I'll see what I can do about getting a mic at the panel. So I'll do what I can. But that about wraps us up for the spoiler section. So spoiler-free section. We'll go into our spoiler section. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're leaving us, we will see you in a couple weeks for episode 6. If you're sticking with us, then just give us a few seconds to get ready. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, we're going to start into our spoiler section. So thank you to everybody who stuck with us to listen to that. And this is spoilers for the rest of season 1 and season 2. So this is your spoiler warning for like the third or fourth time. At this point, if you get spoiled, then I'm sorry, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, it's really your fault.
I mean, we love all of you, but, you know.
But it's a lot your fault.
I mean, it's not a lot. Yeah, actually kind of is. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, where would you like to start this delightful spoiler-filled section?
I want to talk about the Stone Witch. Stone Witch, because I was talking to you about this like before we started recording. I could not keep track of what she was being called for the life of me. And I was so sure I was going to slip and call her the wrong thing. But like, you know, she's Constance, she's Miss Stone, she's Mrs. Clutie. But anyway, yeah, I was like really tripped up by that. But I wanted to talk to you, like, do you remember what her sons look like once they're resurrected?
Yes.
Yeah, they're just like, these like big, like hulking, like masses. Do you think that's something that we have to look forward to in season 3? Because like they had to get their good looks from somewhere, and they do not take after their mother.
Well, I think there's one thing that and we see this later on in the episode where he actually does resurrect. You know, she has to take pieces from both sons, so maybe that's part of why he looked a little gruesome. But all we know about the demon Clutie is that he's he's like wrapped up a little bit. So I'm sure they take after their father a little bit more than their mother.
Yeah, I think so too.
I have confidence in that. This is the episode where we find out exactly what Bobo is doing, what his long game is, and it is quite a long game, you know, with this, you know, digging up bones for Constance, because it's Ward killed and buried her son's not Ward, Wyatt. God, too many W names.
There's a lot.
It is, and I keep mixing up Ward and Wyatt. Like, it happens all the time. But it was Wyatt who did that, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I feel like she's been without them for a while. And also, like, state of Wynonna was, like, a kid. Yeah, so no, but, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right about it being Wyatt, not Ward.
Yeah, no, I just misspeak all the time. No, so we do get that, and we get the first mention of a lead, which, as we know now, it was Willa. They were talking about Willa. So Constance took her from Bobo, and then, you know, we lost her about a year ago in the show time. Mm-hmm. A year, yeah. She's been lost for a year, but Constance obviously isn't going to tell Bobo that.
I wonder how she got her. You know, like I know Bobo had her in that like little treehouse thing. I wonder if she had him followed or like.
Don't we see it?
I don't think he would have. Yeah, I don't think. Say what?
Don't we see it? Like,
did we?
She was. Well, I don't know. He either followed or she was in on it, or like she knew. I don't know. I said that very confidently, but.
I do really like that line, too, that we got earlier, that nothing good happened to Willa.
Mm-hmm.
That was really something. You know, I mean, and she obviously has not had the best life. It doesn't really make me like her as a person much more. But, yeah, he says nothing good ever happened to Willa. And, you know, she gets taken, she gets abducted, she gets held in that treehouse of horrors and brainwashed, and then, you know, somehow Clutie gets a hold of her and loses her, and she winds up with that freaky cult. So, yeah, Willa's life is not awesome, and I kept wondering, like, I thought it was strange that Bobo said that, you know, nothing good ever happened to Willa. Like, not even him, apparently, like the guy who loves her. So I thought that was really neat. I thought it was cool that he was counting himself kind of among the horrible things that have happened to her.
Bobo's very complicated. And I think, you know, we see so many layers to him, and it's, you know, we know there's so much more to him. So, yeah, he's very complicated. And it's just like anytime they mention, you know, we've had Revenants mentioned, oh, Willa screamed for days. Oh, Willa was in pieces. And I wonder because we know that she wasn't. We know that Bobo kind of saved her from the Revenants and everything. Because he even mentions that in the finale, the season 1 finale, when he's on Waverly, She makes mention of, seducing a 13-year-old girl, I believe is what the line is. And, he argues that he saved her and everything. And, I would love to know what Bobo said to the Revenants to create this narrative for Willa to protect her.
Yeah.
And I wonder if maybe did Constance have a hand in that? Maybe she helped him.
I also wonder if he got to her right away. It doesn't it almost feel like to you that the Revenants, got to the home front and maybe, I don't know, like maybe he didn't have like control of them as much as he wanted. Or so. I wonder what happened to Willa, because he did have to like hide her and stuff like that, like presumably to keep her safe from other Revenants. Yeah. So I wonder if that part of it is true. I wonder if she did scream, and I don't know. I mean, I don't even know that I really want to know or anything. It just it's it's telling.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, just still keeping on the Willa thing, but shifting gears a little bit. It is interesting how Waverly reacts even from the beginning when it comes to talking about Willa. Like they very clearly kind of still plant those seeds of Waverly didn't necessarily have the fondest memories of her sister.
Right.
So I thought that was one thing I wanted to mention, because we find that later, even more so when Willa does return. So I wanted to mention that while we were on our Willa discussion. I know we'll have more and more discussions about it and probably repeat some of this as we get farther into it and get just more pieces to it, which I'm okay with.
Same.
Let's see. What else did you have on your spoiler list?
I wanted to talk a little bit about about Wynonna. It was interesting to see her so upset about Levi's treatment.
Yeah.
When Doc had no choice but to keep up appearances in front of Bobo. And I'm not calling her a hypocrite. I don't think the moment should be read that way. I think these choices and these kinds of calls are precisely why she railed so hard against this curse to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I think it's less her being a hypocrite and more she just does not want to become that. Like, she does not want to become somebody comfortable making a call like that. And I feel like we really get a glimpse of it when we see her torturing Vulture for information. Mm-hmm. And, he's telling her that it's telling that he chose to use her father's voice, not to plead with her, not to beg for his life. He used Ward's voice to egg her on. Yeah. So it was very much like Ward, and, you and I know is kind of why I wanted to save it for, for the spoiler section. The further you get into the series, like, the more clues you get that, like, Ward was not a good guy.
No.
He was not on the up and up, like, but I think it's really cool that they show you so early on that Ward really seems to be the thing she's afraid to turn into.
Definitely. And yeah, we do learn that. And that's also very present in Waverly. Definitely use that. I mean, we talked about that, Waverly using her drinking and being like, all right, you're channeling our father. And it's, because we know Willa basically very early on, Ward, kind of got it into her that, you're the heir, you're going to have to kill these people and blah, blah, blah. And that's honestly, I think part of her original trauma is really Ward and his trying to prepare her, but, not doing it well at all. Yeah, I mean, and, we talk about, it's interesting that Kreiderman is singling out Wynonna as being like a bad seed and all that stuff and holding Ward up when we know Ward was corrupt.
Right.
We know Ward made a deal with Bobo.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, to have that piece of it too, when we know more about Kreiderman, who we do know Kreiderman is not a revenant. And he ends up killing himself, episode 12 or 13.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn. Yeah, you should have just told me. You should have been like, shut up.
No, I think it was more fun letting you do that in the spoiler-free bit.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Whatever, keep
just
it.
Like, Sith Lord Constance Clutie. Really?
Yeah, sure, we'll talk it up too.
We're trying to maintain a spoiler-free integrity here.
We are, and I didn't want to say she was the Stone Witch, so I went with the next closest thing, which seemed to be Sith Lord. Like, it made sense to me.
It made plenty of sense to me, so I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let me just apologize to anybody listening. You're totally right. I completely forgot about Judge Kreiderman. I totally blanked on that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have it in my notes. I just said it like spur of the moment. I was like, oh, what if he's a Revenant? So that's funny. Yeah. So he's not.
It's what happens. Like I said, spoiler free. It's fun to speculate. That's what we do. And it's, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
I look forward to having new season 3 things where we can have like all kinds of ridiculous theories. I enjoy that. It is hard to do.
I know.
New spoiler free podcast.
Yeah, I really like that.
Which is why we wanted to do this. So I had a number of other notes too, just minor ones. I threw out, I enjoy that this is the first time we see her say, tell a Revenant, like, make your peace.
Yeah.
I don't believe she says it once in season 2. I believe the last time she says it is when she shoots Willa.
Right.
And I think that's such an interesting shift. But yeah, I have that in my head that she hasn't said it. If I'm missing it, if it's coming at a moment that I'm missing, somebody please let me know.
Yeah, just tweet us.
Because it has been a minute since I watched season 2. Yeah, as far as I can remember, she does not mention it again until season 2. Or not mention it again in season 2. We also, I guess, are to assume that this is where Wynonna gets pregnant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because it's Doc's.
Yeah, but she has sex with him again, like in the barn or something, doesn't she?
Does she?
Oh, wait, do they just wake up in the barn?
No, I think he tries in the barn, and I think this is the only time we actually see anything happen.
Oh.
Again.
Man, I thought they had sex more than that.
I need a rewatch. But no, I'm pretty sure this is where we're meant to assume she gets pregnant. This is the episode. I believe so. Poor dirt baby.
Congratulations, Wynonna.
I didn't just call her baby a dirt baby. Yes, I did, but I'm not. Oh, that's
a big episode. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a big episode for like setting up the mystery of Waverly. Like we talked about her earlier and Bobo's connection to her and everything. But I think I forgot that they started building that, suspicion about her heritage so early on. Bobo talks about her depths. Mikshin in season 2 talks about her darkness. And, here we are on the verge of season 3 now. We still have no answers as to what or who Waverly is, who her parents are, or why they were in purgatory to begin with.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what made it easy, I think, for people to jump on the Bobo is her dad bandwagon.
Right, yeah.
Very quickly is because they did really sow the seeds this early. There was something interesting about them because he very clearly has a connection with her. And that started from the beginning, finding out that he was her imaginary friend. Yeah. But yeah, it's very clear here. It's we still don't know. We still have no idea what's up with Waverly.
Nope.
And it should be interesting.
I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, definitely. I am too. It's one of the season 3 mysteries I'm hoping that they really tackle.
Yeah.
One of the things I meant to mention when I mentioned Ward, Vinny the Vulture makes a comment that Earps are always trying to cut deals. So it's very interesting. There's another Ward tie-in with Vinny, which I think I've mentioned that twice now that I think about it. I don't know. My brain's only kind of half working right now at this point. With the photo in Kreiderman's office, Dulles has a moment at the end of the episode where he's like, this looks familiar, and then it shows the photo in Kreiderman's office. That is never mentioned again. I don't think that photo is in there. And again, I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's ever made like a big deal out of the fact that he's got that photo. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. That Dulles wouldn't kind of remember, or we wouldn't have a bigger reveal, because I would have definitely remembered if there was a bigger reveal, I think.
Right.
So I wanted to mention that. And the last thing on my list for spoilers was another small thing. Interesting to me that we actually saw Wynonna loading Peacemaker, because I think it's the first time we've actually kind of see her load it.
Right.
And I think it's one of the only times we've seen her load it, with the exception of like the season 2 finale. So I just thought it was interesting with how often Peacemaker misfires. And I think, it's not like we see her keep track of like shots and stuff like that. And it's a revolver, so it's only got like 6 shots in it anyway.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting, like, that we did actually get to see her loading Peacemaker. It's the only time. Like, because she has that belt, the bullet belt, all that stuff. And, like, we do.
Yeah, she does.
You would just think that it wouldn't necessarily need to be loaded since it is a magic gun.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
But we do see it fire at non-revenants and stuff, too.
Right.
So it's interesting. But I think that was everything I had on my list to mention this time around.
Yeah, that's everything on mine.
Cool. So let's go ahead and wrap up our spoiler section. Thanks again, guys, for sticking around and listening, and, keep, letting us know your thoughts on the episodes and stuff like that. We appreciate it. So we love talking to you guys, and I am certain you guys are also counting down until season 3, or at least any news of when we might get it. So hopefully it'll come within the next couple of weeks with Klexicon coming up next week. So here's hoping.
Yeah, hopefully.
So we will see you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, you guys.